And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here for the Lakers Fast Break Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts. Inside Sports, Fantasy Football, we'll be taking care of that hopefully tonight, maybe tomorrow night. We don't know yet. I haven't heard back from the Lardieri's on a confirmation on when they can go live, but it'll be coming up here this week. That will provide you insight on week three already in the NFL. Also as well, our good friends, John Costa, Clutch Talk and Lakers Corner. Big shout out to them. Of course, you want to go ahead and hit us up at LakersFastBreak@yahoo.com anytime at all for your questions and comments. But I also want to give a big shout out to all of our members. Before we go any further, it is just greatly appreciated. Please always like and subscribe, but you can do us an even bigger solid by joining up today for a membership plan that YouTube has rolled out for us. And that's just $2.99 a month. And that includes badges, emojis, and also big shout outs from us. The longer you stay a member, the different badges that you'll get. But yes, you go ahead and get some special stuff from us right there for just $2.99 a month indeed. Plus also as well, Lakers in 5, Empire Jeff TV. Also as well, John McCalian channel and Daniel Berry Sports Highlights. Yo, Laker Tom and Jamie Sweet, the Lakerholics crew. Of course, also as well, Stone Hansen. All these great guys, all these great folks, all these great sites you need to go ahead and check out and support, including the Legend site, which I have in the description below. But you can't do that without starting with us first by liking and subscribing today to get the latest notifications on when we go ahead and start right here with you at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. So I said the other day with Alfred Esmond when he stopped on by with his thoughts on some of the most intriguing training camp position or rotation battles that we would do a part 2 because there were many other teams in the league that have some intriguing questions that need to be answered. And of course, I couldn't do that without a good friend indeed. He is, of course, the man behind his new YouTube channel, which the link, again, is in the description below. Please like and subscribe. It is the Legend. I always say Legend 350 because it's force of habit, but yeah, the Legend's here. He's a legend. It's always great to have you back, my friend. And I do know Joe Soro is on the way, my friend. So let me see if I see Joe. Oh, there he is. Yes, there he is. Yes, I do see you now, Joe. I didn't hear the audible Joe Soro is in the house when I usually will get that prompting notification, but Joe Soro is here. But Legend, great to have you here. And before I get it to Joe, I want to go ahead and ask you, Legend, we covered a few teams on the previous episode. I didn't know if you get a chance to hear that or if you heard it or watched it with Alfred. We covered such teams, of course, the Lakers. We covered such teams as the Knicks. We covered such teams as the Rockets. We covered Philadelphia a little bit and some other teams as well. But I know 2 teams of yours that you particularly keep an eye on. We kind of intentionally avoided so that you could talk about them. So I will let you talk about one of them first. Which one you got, my friend, as far as an intriguing NBA position or rotation battle that just speaks out to you?
I'm definitely going with my Warriors first, since this is gonna be a new season without Clay. So it's gonna be a whole new atmosphere.
Okay, absolutely. So what is intriguing for me? The obvious one that's out there when you talk about the Golden State Warriors, they did pick up a lot of veterans, I should say, rotation players as far as it's concerned. So rotation-wise and depth-wise, they'll have some quality veterans. Not spectacular veterans, but they'll have quality veterans in and around the 4 through 12 player slots. So yeah, it'll be a somewhat deep team. But the position I want to talk about the most is small forward in regards to one Andrew Wiggins and one Jonathan Kuminga. One maybe a remnants of the past that they're still holding on to contractually because, let's just face it, he has a contract, all right? That's unfortunately you have to hold on to, because nobody wants it. And there's a future promise in Jonathan Kuminga, whose promise is now. There's no more, okay, he's going to get there, he's going to get there, he's going to get there. This is now the point where you have to find out and you have to understand, are you going to make a commitment to him long term if he's in Golden State?
Yeah, it's this season. If it was me, I got to go with Kuminga. It's time. You can't keep letting him sit on that bench. You got to get him out there. And we don't did the Wiggins thing. He one us one in 22, but been kind of going downward since that point. I think it's time to begin to transition from Wiggins to Kuminga and let's let Kuminga spread his wings and let him fly. It's time to get him out there.
Well, with Kuminga, though, the only thing is his trajectory has been at times very promising. He does have some certain attributes that we like: his athleticism, his ability to drive to the basket. He can play defense because of his athleticism at times. Pretty good. Doesn't always stay focused on it. I wish he would a little bit more. I think that's something that is a concern when I've met with Golden State people before on the air. The thing I want to ask, though, is his outside shooting has still been in question. Yeah. And him overall, he appears to be that guy that could be that next really good player for Golden State. But is he going to be good enough for you to commit upwards of $150-200 million in a contract, which is what he's looking for right now?
I mean, he is showing a good trajectory going up, getting better. He's definitely showing that he's a good piece to have on a championship team. But the 150 part, I don't know just yet. I kind of want to see him definitely play this season. Let me see what you look like and see how much more he continue to improve. But 150 that's a lot. I don't want to be in another Andrew Wiggins situation and I got another bad contract. But he's definitely a lot better to invest in than continuing with Wiggins.
True, but again, they have to get rid of that contract as far as it's concerned if they're going to go ahead and they worked so hard to get off that tax they were in, the repeater tax they were in for so many years, and they finally got themselves over the hump on that, Legend. The problem is if they commit to Wiggins on a long-term contract and they still have to keep Wiggins, if they don't figure out a way to trade him by the end of the season, they could go back into the repeater tax, or they can go back into the second tax apron once again.
Yeah, we need to get off Wiggins ASAP. We need to somehow, some way, even spice it up a little bit to get rid of Wiggins. Because I don't think in the long run, I think what he did for 22, like I said, was amazing. We appreciate it, but I don't think he's gonna be able to contribute to that comparable to that level again. So I think you gotta move him.
So
you gotta get him out of here.
With Golden State, again, they made a lot of changes as far as their rotation in the offseason. Obviously, Thompson left, but they've got DeAnthony Melton. They've got Buddy Hield. They got other veteran players to come into the mix. I'm not asking you where you place them in the Western Conference. We're going to do our previews later in the month or even possibly early October, probably better as it gets close to the season starts. But your thoughts on some of the players that they have out there. You've got to find a way to find some minutes for these guys, yet you still have got Trace Jackson Davis. You've got Moses Moody, and of course, Rodell's favorite, Podziemski, as far as it's concerned. Those guys trying to go ahead and be able to fight for positions. And before I turn over to Joe, he actually just left us here for a second. There he is. Before I turn it over back to Joe for his turn on some thoughts, where do you see this Golden State team rotation-wise? Because that's a lot of players that are used to playing time that may not get some in that current rotation.
One person I know for sure we got to give him some playing time is definitely Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield. I can't think of the young guy who was really, really good last year. It was a really great spark.
Moses Moody?
Yeah,
or Podziemski?
I think both of them. Honestly, I would love to have both of them on that court. Just gotta love their energy. But to me, the biggest one is Buddy Hield. Got to get playing time. That's a sharp shooter. Something we need replacing Clay, especially when Clay was going downward with his shooting ability too. So
what about
them? My main three.
Well, how good could DeAnthony Melton be for your team? Because he's someone, if he's healthy, because he did have some back issues. I think he had surgery as well. What is his status for your team going forward as well? What kind of role can he play?
I definitely think he can be a really good contributor coming off our bench and a good spark. Hopefully his back injury will be good to go for this season too. I know him back injury is no joke. I think he really be a good contributor coming off that bench for us. I'm still curious about what the starting lineup going to turn into as well.
So what kind of starting lineup would you roll out there? Because there's rumors that they might start Green at center.
That's actually what I was thinking about. Steph, of course, PG, Green at center. I would bring Buddy Hield. I would also bring our buddy as well. I forgot his name already.
As far as Podziemski?
I kind of in between bringing him as well, and then just maybe putting Wiggins on the bench since he haven't been that great, and just swap him out.
Okay, fair enough. Joe, Golden State is projected conveniently enough right around what the Lakers are predicted at. I think 45 or 46 wins, slightly above what the Lakers are at in Vegas. So they are expected to be parallel to each other as far as their seasons are concerned. Your thoughts on what rotation intrigue as far as after the loss, after Thompson is left now, Thompson's gone, the Splash Brothers are gone. What would you do now? Because you've got a lot of players vying for not all that much time. Can you hear us, Joe? Joe, you there? I can't hear you, man. And Parade on Figaro, I got you here in a sec. I'm just trying to get Joe back on the air. So Joe's mic is not yet. So you'd hear him already. You'd hear him. But Joe, I don't think we have you on yet as far as your volume is concerned. I know he's on the road traveling, so we'll see if we can get him back in here. But yeah, with the Golden State Warriors, I would say that's a lot of intrigue because, again, they do have 10 to 12 players. They could roll out their legend, but the problem is you got to find minutes for all those guys. So,
right.
Cool, bro. Yes, he is on the way. We're going to give him another try. Joe, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Sorry about that. That was my fault. I had another video playing before you guys finished, and it messed up everything, so I have to start over.
Oh, don't let our chat find out what that video is. It could be the most innocent thing, and they'll.
No, I'm not. I don't watch that garbage. I'm watching sports. Sick ass people. Jesus.
But all kidding aside, my friend, the Golden State Warriors and Parade, I still got you. Golden State Warriors they're intriguing to say the least. They're not a championship level team by any stretch of the imagination, unless Curry has an insane year. They just have a lot of bodies. They have a lot of veterans, and they could be competitive this season, but not to that level. But which rotation pieces do you think is most intriguing to you when you see them?
The most intriguing rotation for the Golden State Warriors for me is what it will be after the trade deadline. If I'm Golden State, I do everything in my power to somehow find suitors for Draymond Green and Andrew Wiggins, and that's first and second, if not 1 and 1A activities that need to start being the focus in Golden State. I don't know if they can resurrect another championship team with Steph being the leader, but it would have a better chance if they started immediately. I was not a supporter in re-signing Draymond Green. If I had been Golden State, I would have let him go, much like how they let Klay Thompson go. And as much as it hurt to let Klay Thompson leave, it's just Klay is not going to ever perform like he used to. It's just not. I wish he could, but his leg got shredded, and it's just not possible. If whether he can play a third or fourth tier type player on a title team, sure, yes. Jason Kidd over in Dallas is going to need to manage his minutes, put him in good spots. Not a lot of Dallas fans that I know really, really like Jason Kidd and don't think he can really do well when it comes to those things. So I don't know how it's going to turn out in Dallas. I really don't. But in Golden State, it's going to have to be shed the big contracts. There is someone that's going to need Andrew Wiggins somewhere. Who that would be, it's likely going to be a title contender, or let's say someone maybe on the cusp that could also maybe get an extra player that could give them a little bit of talent infusion so they can get maybe to the second round. Andrew Wiggins is that guy. Draymond Green, it would have to be a veteran laden team where they're not probably going to be able to control him, but they're gonna somewhat be able to, I guess, have his respect. I don't know who though. I don't know where he could go. That would make sense. I think the only guy he respects would be LeBron. But LeBron, I don't know if LeBron could stop him from chop sueying everything in sight if he's not in the mood. So yeah, Golden State is right in line with the Lakers in a lot of ways, but I think they have movable contracts, whereas the Lakers don't.
That's the thing. And they've got a lot of names that are out there. Recognizable names to the rest of the league. Legend is something that's very important. And while not everybody knows, and good analysis, Joe, what everybody doesn't know about a Jalen Hood-Schifino or a Max Christie or something like that, as far as for a trade asset or two, you guys want to trade DeAnthony Melton when he becomes available to trade. Oh, that's interesting. Buddy Hield. Oh, okay. We know who that is. Oh, we know who Melton is. Oh, we know who a lot of these players are. So it becomes a little bit more recognizable. Although, again, these teams should recognize and understand the league on what assets to use. But some of these guys, especially on the Golden State, come January and February, if Golden State feels like they need to make a move, they'll have guys that are out there with some name power that they could probably make maybe swing a deal or two on, whether it's for assets in the future or assets that can help them right away.
Yeah, I definitely got to agree with that. I think they got the right assets to really make the move, and I agree with Joe. If it was me, I'd probably let Draymond go by now, just because of it's been a nice run with that core, but it's not going to happen again. It's over. 22 was definitely the last one, and I think once he should have been the first to go, then Clay should have been the second. But at this point, I would probably look to maybe ship Green on out of there with Wiggins and try to go and get a good package for them. So at least while Draymond still got some work to him, and hope the other team don't mind dealing with the shenanigans that come with Draymond.
Once again, it is the legend. He is back with us. Just go ahead and make sure you check out his channel. It is in the description below as far as the link. And later on, he will let you know why you need to check out his brand new YouTube channel. Along with Joe Soro, it is me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching, listening. Truly appreciated. So with that, Joe, is there another team? You were really on it. Again, people think I'm always bashing you and teasing you and all that stuff. I give you compliments when you earn it, which is quite a bit. And I gave you the compliment the other day when you were right on target with the Houston Rockets being a very intriguing training camp upcoming. Do you have another one in mind now that we've had a couple of days to think about it?
Well, for the record, I don't need compliments. Matter of fact,
okay, then I will give you.
It's not my cup of tea. Look, I know I'm good.
I'm kidding, my friend. I'm
kidding,
my friend. I'm kidding.
The intriguing, the roster and how it will flip this year at Golden State is by far the first thing on my mind. Lacombe, Joe, the owner, and their group, they're very good. They're very good at what they do, and they have to balance keeping their superstar happy and their superstars happy and all this. And you got Steve Kerr, who's enigmatic, a little as well. So, there's a lot of egos. There's a lot of things that happen. No matter how much you think they get along, it's still ego and respect just goes back and forth a lot, like a tennis match. The small thing in my head, there's a little thing in my head that's been kind of ticking a little bit on how the Warriors can turn it around quick. And again, this is not based off any information that I found out. I'm just going by who's in charge there, who's there that's still, pretty good, which is Steph Curry, and what kind of turnaround would make a difference, right? So I'm going to be watching, and I'm going to be watching regardless if Golden State's involved or not, but I'm going to be watching very, very closely. Other than Lakers, I'm going to be watching very closely in Milwaukee. Something, and you've heard me say this before, something's going on in Milwaukee. I don't know what it is. Nothing's come out. There's not even a little bit of a rumor, but something's off there. I don't know if it's Giannis getting tired. And when I say Giannis getting tired, what happens to a lot of superstars, especially guys like Giannis, guys like Kevin Durant, a lot of guys that are generally nice people and mild-mannered, the constant nonsense will eventually bust them a little bit, and they'll start to act on it. And I think I've been starting to see a little bit of it from Giannis. Is Giannis, if Milwaukee comes out not doing well, is Giannis going to start saying, "Look, man, I'm really getting tired of this. I think it's time for me to bounce." That's something I think if and maybe I'm wishing this because there's been nothing the last 3 years now of any stars really doing anything like that. But I'm thinking that might be the buster. That might be the one that finally gets some juice during the trade deadline, where they're like, "Hey, man, Giannis is like, I want out. I want to go somewhere else. I think it's time for a change of scenery." And Golden State, for some reason, is the first team that I think of, because the Lakers don't have enough by a billion miles to do anything there. But Golden State could do something. And if you get Giannis in San Francisco, and you got Steph Curry, who still has maybe 3 or 4 years left of championship basketball. He might not be the athletically there, but when you're a shooter like that, you can ask Larry Bird, you can ask Dale Ellis, you can ask Del Curry, his pops even. Like, shooting never really goes away, and he doesn't really have a lot of baggage in that he doesn't carry a lot of weight, doesn't, his body isn't, even though his ankles were kind of messed up at the beginning of his career, his body isn't going to likely go into complete a complete dead zone for a while. So imagine if the Warriors are able to swing the next big superstar out of Milwaukee, and then you have Giannis and Curry in San Francisco, and then are we going to see a third run for Steph, a third run to get a title or two? That's kind of my little tick in my head. That's kind of what's been going on in my head.
The thing, though, is you're right. If Giannis gets a little antsy and sees that it's not working out with Damian Lillard, if Lillard's just not the same guy anymore, and there's a good chance of that happening because he's also in his mid-30s, Legend. There's something to be very wary of, because of the fact that, again, if it doesn't work out, if he doesn't like playing with Doc, if he doesn't like Doc's system, he may want out. It'll be hard to move that contract, but since it's Giannis, Legend, even though he's now, 29, 30?
Something like that.
He's right. He's late 20s, I think. I think he's 29. I'll check it up for sure in a second here. But yeah, he's got a lot of mileage, but he's also still has moments where he can still get it done, Legend.
I actually really do agree with Joe on that as well. That's something even I would say really watch out for, because last season showed a lot of cracks in that team in Milwaukee, and ever since Lillard came there, just really haven't been all great up there. And to me, the Doc part made it worse. I'm kind of at that point too. I'm kind of waiting to see how long is Giannis going to continue to deal with it. I don't see that team really being that great with Doc as your coach. And the Lillard and the Giannis thing ain't really been that great. Haven't really been that impacting.
They've got actually, we used to talk a couple years ago, Joe, when Rob Pelinka fielded the oldest team ever in the NBA. Like when we were calling it, it was like it was 2022, but they were actually fielding a team that looked like the 2012 All-Stars with Carmelo Anthony and Russell Westbrook and all that stuff, as far as just the old players that they had on those teams. And now, flash forward, Joe, Milwaukee is now the oldest team in the NBA. They've got a lot of players that are like, this is their last bit. This is their last straw. Even Middleton, who's coming off of double ankle surgery. That's also a question for the Milwaukee Bucks as well.
Yes, and if you look at a lot of their contracts, you got Bobby Portis, you got Chris Middleton, you have Brook Lopez right now going into what could be their last year's contract. They do have player options, Bobby Portis and Middleton, that is. And if it's a competitive year, then I probably isn't going to be an issue other than the end result, and then it'll be too late. Then that'll be likely an off-season issue that they have to kind of address. But it's looking like there is a shift happening in Milwaukee, and looking back on their little run here, you could say their run was between 2019 and what will be 2025 this year. That's 7 seasons. And the fact that they've only won one championship might be a disappointment, even though it is Milwaukee and the Bucks aren't really a flashy, flamboyant team either in the country or worldwide. You still had a phenomenal team with Giannis, with Bobby Portis, with Chris Middleton. And then you added Damian Lillard, thinking, okay, this was the piece that we needed. This is the shooting that you needed, the guard that you needed. But the problem is with Damian Lillard Lillard might be hitting at the right time in terms of the downslide. And the mental part is, I think, what messed him up last year as well. So in conjunction with the fact that his skill sets may be going the other way, but also mentally his focus was off, that's what accelerates that sometimes. And if that continues in Milwaukee, then you can't really blame ownership based off what I've seen. I mean, they've given Giannis everything he can want. They went out and got Lillard. They brought in Brook Lopez a few years back. They signed Chris. They signed Bobby Portis. They've done everything to try to keep this guy happy. Hell, they even kept his brother around to make him happy. So what else can Milwaukee do to make Giannis happy? Well, sometimes it's not about what the other person can do to make you happy. Maybe you're just not happy there anymore. And will that result in, hey, I'm ready to go somewhere else? And will that be a team like the Golden State Warriors? And the reason why I use Golden State as the main attraction is because he can't really go to a team that's contending. It's the way the money is structured right now. I guess the team would have to kind of gut their team to bring Giannis in. And I'm not saying there wouldn't be a team like, I guess, Oklahoma City that might want to say, hey, man, let's just go win it now. Let's go get Giannis. Sure, they could do that, but it's not likely. And then you have teams like Phoenix. You have teams like the Clippers. Is he going to want to go to Phoenix? Is he going to want to go to L.A.? I don't know. I think he'd be more comfortable playing with somebody like Steph Curry, knowing that he's likely going to be the first option where Curry can be kind of the 1A, which the thing with Steph Curry, and you've heard me say this over and over again, and I like saying it over and over again. Steph Curry doesn't get enough credit for being the ultimate team player. He is the guard version of Tim Duncan, because he could have been a whiny, self-indulged a-hole star. Look, Steph Curry is a mega star. Okay, the only guy that's been better than him is LeBron James in this era. That's it. And he's never shown ever whether it's Clay going off, whether it's Draymond going off, whether it's Durant going off. It never mattered to him. All he cared about was winning. And he would welcome Giannis, and Giannis would feel welcomed. And that's why I think that situation would be intriguing if I'm Giannis's agent. I'm like, look, you know you're going to have good ownership over there. You know you got a team that's one of the most valuable teams down in the world in terms of basketball, NBA basketball team. And you have Steph Curry that's there to kind of give you support and pat you on the back and play well and go after championships.
So with that, another team, again, Milwaukee, I think is going to be very interesting to watch because it could go literally one way or another simply because the age in that team. We'll definitely wait and see. But another team,
Giannis is going to be 30 in December, by the way.
Yeah, that's I was going to mention that. You're right, because he's 29, going to be 30. Yep. So LeBron's going to be 40 in December, and Giannis is going to be 30 in December. Wow, time flies. But Legend, your other favorite team, the Atlanta Hawks. I'm not expecting a championship either, but I don't know. Tanking, I don't know if they can do that. They're like the Lakers. You can't. I don't believe they can tank. I don't believe they can, even with the loss of DeJounte Murray. I think they have enough pieces to stay relevant, and unless they do trade Trae Young, but they have Jalen Johnson, Risa Shea. They have Capella's contract to trade. Mm-hmm. They got Okongwu that they've been. Okay, if Okongwu, and it hurts me to say this because he's a Trojan, and I did go to USC for a cup of coffee, and I always have an affinity for USC. But if you were so good as a lottery pick in 5 years, how come you've not been able to beat out Capella for the starting spot? So I'll leave you with that thought, Legend. But I'm not. I didn't love the DeJounte Murray trade, but I guess it's something you felt you guys had to do because you had to break them up, and I get that. I thought you could have gotten a little bit more assets. People were saying, "Why did the Lakers do that? Why didn't the Lakers do it?" Well, if the Lakers had offered something comparable, they probably would have gotten DeJounte Murray, but they didn't. It's obviously Rob Pelinka was trying to lowball the Atlanta Hawks if they were really interested in DeJounte Murray. But being that as it may, they do have the Lakers' first-round pick. So while I still see them in purgatory, what interesting things do you want to see? What steps do you want to see Atlanta take to get some of these guys really some good play, minutes, experience as far as what they can do in the league?
For Atlanta, I think it's just finding your identity by how you want this team to really go going towards the future. And I guess I wasn't really crazy about the DeJounte trade myself. Like we could do a little better.
You're banking on the Lakers sucking next year. It's basically what you're doing with that.
Basically, you banking. I don't think they're gonna suck that bad like that. So I don't think they're gonna be great, but I don't think they're gonna suck that bad.
Well, if LeBron or AD gets hurt, the biggest cheer you'll hear is out of Atlanta. I'll just say that.
That will be popping popcorn. We'll be celebrating.
But again, the rotation battles or how that lays out, I mean, you still got a lot of forwards. You got a log jam at forward you need to alleviate. How does that be? I mean, the DeAndre Hunter situation, because now he's persona non grata in Atlanta because I guess you guys are trying to trade him now like a bad habit. He is now someone that's on the outs in Atlanta.
Yeah, when you got somebody who ain't happy, you just got to go and move him. I think he really felt some type of way with
the team isn't happy with his production because of all the injuries and his lack of ability or lack of promise that he once shown for a brief time, brief enough to get the contract that he did. But as we've seen so many times before, my friend, once they sign that fat contract, a lot of times it does go south.
Usually it does. You usually end up getting the money that you probably should never got in the first place. And now you're being looked upon to play to that level of money and you're not showing it. And now you are on the verge of getting moved. And that's what usually happens. He just didn't show up. He just didn't show up. He didn't step up, didn't play towards that money.
So Risa Shea and Johnson is supposed to be your front court for the future. That's going to be hard to do when you've got Trae Young. I'm going to be honest with you, my friend, because Trae Young demands so much of the ball.
Right.
He just sucks up so much of the possessions, of the ability to go. He's not, I believe, the type of point guard that you need to be able to work well with those forwards because he has a lot of needs himself. You need more of an unselfish guard, I think, that's going to be able to do that. Yeah, I understand he does have a lot of assists, he gets, and whatnot, but I just feel that Trae Young's game, Ricochet and Johnson may not all fit together quite as well as people hope.
That's probably my biggest concern that comes about that team is because he got to have the ball and everybody's style don't clash that well. We really need a Chris Paul type of player who don't mind passing the ball, just looking for others. And that might be something that end up biting him in the butt through the season that you might should have wanted to move the Trae Young while you could.
Do you think they'll move Trae Young after all by the trade deadline?
If it's ugly, that first 20 games, I expect him to be gone by that trade deadline.
Joe, do you concur on that, or do you see something different in Hotlanta?
I'm going to go. Trae Young is going to have to adapt at some point here. Otherwise, he's going to be a journeyman star player, much like Chris Paul. Now, I'm not saying that's a derogatory comment because sometimes point guards do that, but the issue with trading Trae Young is, and the issue this last offseason was they weren't getting the offers that they wanted. And are they going to get offers that they want before the deadline or next offseason as well? I don't know. I think a lot of these trades that have gone on that have garnered massive amounts of assets, Bridges, Gobert, both those players are good respectfully, but had no business getting those offers of those many assets. The problem is that's the only way you can get those guys, especially with the teams that are trying to acquire them. Who's going to need Trae Young? Who's going to need a ball-dominant point guard that's more of a scoring guy than a distributor? That's going to be the question. And at this moment, I don't know. But I would think Atlanta needs to get some leadership in this and try to dictate, hey, you know what, guys? We need to start playing basketball like we want to win and stop worrying about trades and stop worrying about rebuilding. Like Atlanta, you have Trae Young. He took you to the freaking Eastern Conference Finals almost by himself. You have some young talent here. How about just start building and start working and start just focusing on Atlanta Hawk basketball instead of always being that team that's, oh, we got to trade this guy and we got to trade that guy. That's kind of my advice for Atlanta, because Atlanta, at least they're young, right? Comparing them to the Lakers in terms of being kind of in that purgatory range, yeah, there's some truth there, but these are still young players, whereas the Lakers don't have young players where they need it. They just have really two guys that are really, really good and stars, but everything else doesn't kind of click together. So if I'm Atlanta, I sit down with Trae Young and I'm like, Trae, we need you to kind of almost play like an MVP. We need you to start really bringing everybody together. And if he's not capable of doing that, then you're going to have to figure out a way to get him somewhere where you can get someone who can.
Great thoughts right there from Joe Soro, aka Ox1947 at LakersBall.com. Also as well, Simblades with the Y.com. Now back with the legend. We're talking again some very intriguing things that we're looking at heading into training camp, which is now 2 weeks away. Less, actually, for a couple of the teams. The teams that are going abroad, they're actually have to start on the 25th. So we're about 8 days away, a little over a week away from some training camp starting. It's right around the corner for everybody. So, Legend, is there another team? We covered your two favorite teams out there. Is there another team that you have in mind that we haven't talked about yet, as far as something that might pop up? We've talked about Miami on with Alfred Esmond and all that was going on with Jimmy Butler. We talked about, again, I mentioned before, the Rockets. We mentioned Golden State. Milwaukee, New York, Philadelphia, but there's still more intriguing teams. What really sticks out to you as far as a team out there?
Another team I am kind of curious about is definitely maybe the Charlotte Hornets, seeing where they're gonna go with the
Good
whole
one.
LaMelo Ball situation with him staying healthy and all that, and where they're gonna go between him and Brandon on how you want to go with this team going forward.
Okay, I don't disagree with that at all. I understand for a lot of people out there, if it does go south, I think Ball will be a trade target if he stays healthy. It's something that if he stays healthy, the team struggles and he has issues with the coaching staff and or ownership, then you might want to think about it because he is still under 25. He does have a lot of bad habits. I will not disagree with you. And that's why a lot of people piss on it. I understand that. But Legend, why is the Charlotte Hornets very intriguing for you? Because again, for me, it's intriguing to see if Ball can actually play ball with the Charlotte Hornets and have them play a little bit better this season.
That's pretty much why I'm most intrigued about him as well. It's the whole LaMelo Ball part. Just wondering, can this kid, who has a lot of great potential, he looks really good when he's healthy, great potential, can he actually lift this team into the playoff and actually make some noise? And at the same time, looking at him as kind of like his brother, your brother Lonzo. Can you stay healthy though? Because that's what Lonzo having issues with now in Chicago, and that's why I'm really so intrigued about this team and seeing, can LaMelo grow to be the cornerstone for this franchise that's been losing for probably 10 plus years now, just losing? Can you be that person that finally turned this franchise around and maybe made Michael Jordan finally made a good move in the draft? Yeah.
We'll see, my friend. I do know that he's still not. Is he still part of the ownership down there?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think he vacated that. He sold out while the getting is good there. You know, obviously now with the what he bought it from what he sold it, I'm sure he made a good deal, a coin on it. So that's something he will always remember and be remembered for as far as his legacy is concerned, but not to the point where it'll damage it too much. But Joe, Charlotte, again, I know that you're not too keen on Ball. I know that, again, I had this argument with Alan. I'm not going to fight him on it because, again, Ball is someone it's hard to argue for. He had that one brief moment where he became an all-star and you saw the promise in him as far as being able to fulfill it, but then it all went and derailed from there. But he is still 24, Joe. And that's something I think people need to think about. And if it does go bad in Charlotte, or if they do want to focus on Miller and their future and they want to tank even harder and go for Cooper Flag, he might be available to the right team for the right price.
If Charlotte can get rid of that problem, and I say he's a problem in that not he's a bad guy or anything, he's the epitome of the ball out, pardon the pun, get your contract, and all of a sudden you start seeing a lot of injury issues. I wouldn't trust any ball player as far as I can throw that ball. And if Charlotte is smart, they find a sucker that'll take that contract and take him off their hands so they can rebuild however they can rebuild. The problem with Charlotte is I don't believe they should have ever had another team there. If I had a say in what to do in terms of expansion, I would move Charlotte to Vegas or Seattle. I think Charlotte sustaining this franchise for the second time has been an unmitigated failure. I don't know why they keep going back there. People don't care about the Charlotte Hornets in North Carolina or South Carolina or anywhere down in the mid-South area. And I don't get it. I just don't get it. At what point are they going to understand that if you expand the league and you keep teams like New Orleans and Charlotte existing, they really want to turn the NBA into the NFL in terms of even distribution. The problem is there's not enough talent in basketball. It's not like it is in football. Very little talent that plays in the NBA. Really talented guys. And or at least difference makers. And LaMelo Ball is not a difference maker. He's a good player. He's a good NBA player. He can ball, but he's not going to be a game changer by any means, unless maybe he was a third or fourth option, that guy that can score for you. But I don't trust his health. I've heard some things about the Ball family in terms of how they live their life, how their diets are, and it's not good. It's terrible, actually, and it explains why these guys can't stay healthy. A lot of it is from the wear, I understand, from playing basketball, but they're also doesn't seem like they're doing anything to at least refurbish that a little. But I'm not. I just don't think Charlotte should exist, and I think LaMelo Ball is a guy I would stay away from if I was any other team.
One team I'd like to ask you guys on, and once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is the legend himself. Go ahead and check out his YouTube channel. I got the description in the link below. And of course, Joe Soro as well. One thing I'd like to go ahead and discuss, Legend and Joe, is a team that is also, like Atlanta, very much in purgatory with the team that, do they tank? Do they not? But Xbox might want to hear this. And that's Chicago. The reason why I say is because you just traded for Josh Giddey. You traded away an asset without getting a draft choice in return, and you're banking a lot on the future for Josh Giddey. Again, he didn't have the best of finishes in Oklahoma City when it was counted on the most. He did not and was not able to give what Oklahoma City needed as far as shooting and defense. He's a great playmaker. Absolutely. No question about that. And Xbox will tell you to the hill that he is a great playmaker, but his shooting and also as well defense, his defense just needs to be adequate. If he can become a good outside shooter, at least to the 37-38% range, I think that's something where he could become a really good player in this league. Legend, let me ask you this. The problem is you have also on the Bulls the most improved player on that team in Kobe White, who happens to play the point guard, a little bit more of a scoring point guard, not as good of a playmaker. His defense is also, it's there. But with Kobe White, again, so much promise fulfilled last season because he got the opportunity in minutes. What happens with those two, and how do they allocate out their minutes this year? Do you play them together? Is that really a good fit?
It's gonna be interesting to see how to play. I mean, my honest opinion, I'm keeping Kobe White since Alonzo can't stay healthy, so I gotta keep him out there. But I'm not for sure. Can they play together? I mean,
because then you got Levine also coming back saying, "Hey, if you haven't traded me, I need my minutes as well."
Yeah, they should have got rid of him over something. They should have got rid of him somehow. But you got to get Kobe out there. Kobe's, to me, showing some good future. And I feel like that's going to probably be one of Chicago's future down the line that you probably want to keep it a long run once you move beyond Zach LaVine and all. And we'll be surprised to move beyond Lonzo as well if they can move for him. So I'm thinking Kobe can be the future.
We got to get him back to where he's able to. Supposedly he looks good in training sessions out in Southern California. Lonzo does, but I think that's, again, whether or not he comes back this season is kind of iffy. But you've got Josh Giddey. If Lonzo does come back, you now have 3 viable point guards. Well, whether or not Lonzo does come back, again, that's a question. But if let's say he does come back to anywhere near what he used to be, that's 3 viable point guards that all need time. That could be a problem or a gift to Chicago if they manage it correctly.
Yeah, they can manage it correctly. It could be a blessing in disguise. Just my honest opinion, I don't trust Lonzo. That is me.
Oh yeah. He came off catastrophic knee injuries, and it's, as Joe says, it's bone on bone. So at this point, how much is there left for Lonzo Ball? It will always be a major question going forward. So we don't know how much more effective he will be at all, or if his career will come back at all at any point in time in the near future, which we will probably see over the next 12 months, if it can be a reality or not. So Legend, though, that still leaves Kobe White and also as well Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey, I think, is going to be placed as the starter because they traded such a valuable asset in Alex Caruso for him. But again, you have the most improved player now saying, hey, by the way, we're relegating you back to the bench. That to me, I think, is a sign that Chicago, I don't know. I just don't know what you do when you have two promising players such as Giddey and White, both needing minutes, and it just like it was in Atlanta. If you play them together, it may not work out.
Right. It's almost like it's a good problem to have. It can be a bad problem, and you may not have to make a decision on who you're gonna get the keys to run this whole shebang.
Again, Giddey is 21. He's young, still able to go ahead and develop quite a room for promise there. So yeah, it'd be intriguing to see. I mean, if White is the guy on the outs as far as coming off the bench, if teams might be interested in trading for him down the road.
I definitely think teams would love to have him, especially after the season he has had previously. I think he'll get a nice little package for Kobe. Kobe will be a good pickup for whoever gets him.
Joe, Chicago is a team in purgatory. They will not tank bad enough to get a top allocated spot in the lottery unless they get a gift from our commissioner as far as when he picks out the picks. They will probably be right where they were or near and around where they were last season. Their front line doesn't scare anyone. They gave Williams $90 million for a guy who's only scored 10 points a game. A lot of interesting and questionable things going on in Chicago. Is this right now a worse or better run team than the Los Angeles Lakers? If you've had that time to think about it, that tells me it's a tough question.
Reinsdorf has got a lot of problems here recently, not only with the Bulls, but also with the White Sox. Reinsdorf is notorious for being a stubborn a-hole, not in the likes of a Jerry Jones, but just stubborn. The Bulls, I wouldn't say they're in purgatory. Purgatory is people don't give a damn about the Charlotte Hornets. Unfortunately, not a lot of people care about the Atlanta Hawks either. I wouldn't even say they're in purgatory. They are what they are.
39 and 43, ninth place in the Eastern Conference, Joe, last season.
The Bulls, they still rake in the dough, and Reinsdorf seems to be pretty comfortable with that. I don't think he cares about winning anymore. He probably looks at, hey, look, I got 6 championships. I'm an old man. I'm going to keep doing what I love doing, which is making money, which is what he's doing. I have no idea what the hell they're going to do over there. I really don't. They want draft picks for freaking LaVine is the word. You're out of your freaking mind if you think you're going to get draft picks for Zach LaVine. It's probably just a ploy, but just the fact that that word even came out was hilarious. You're going to have to give up at least 2 ones for some dumb shit to go take that contract out. And then you have Lonzo Ball, who's a dead man walking. I don't even know if he's been cleared to play yet.
No, he's not yet.
And
of course, when I do any research on that guy, the first couple links are some stupid shithole article about some bikini from his woman or whatever. Like just utter garbage nonsense that has no relevancy to anything that matters in life.
I think Chicago wants to declare him out so that they can collect the insurance.
Reinsdorf 101. Try to collect.
But Ball has not determined that as of yet. So
well, yeah, and I'm going to take a wild guess that Lonzo Ball's probably done. I would be in shock if he ever came back. I would be shocked. I'm not saying he's not, but I have absolutely no information and no reason to think that this guy's ever going to come back. He's going to play out his contract, and then maybe somebody might sign him for the minimum next year. I don't know, but he's done. I think he's done, and his brother will be done probably not too long after that, probably in the next 4 to 5 years, as long as he doesn't have a catastrophic injury as well. And the Bulls may need to wait till Reinsdorf has passed before they start to become relevant. I just don't think they care too much over there.
Okay. Just again, I still think they're in purgatory. When you're 39-43, staring ninth place in the Eastern Conference squarely in the face.
For you to
Go-
be in purgatory, that means you're trying to get to heaven, right?
Well,
Right?
or in the case of the NBA, they might be wanting to get to hell so they can get the first pick.
Well, technically, under the history of the purgatory story,
All right.
it's the last stop before. Will you relax? Let me finish.
I said, all right.
You and your damn freaking weirded out about religion. I'm just telling you a story.
No, I just said all
Purgatory
right. I
is
said
the
I was
step to
letting you
heaven. It's not a
finish.
step to hell. If it was a step to hell, then you go straight to hell. Purgatory is not, in my opinion, based in Atlanta, Charlotte, or in Chicago. You could say purgatory, LA, because they're supposed to win, but they're not. Even Golden State's not in purgatory. They're in a rebuild right now, but trying to figure out how they can stop rebuilding right away.
I wasn't expecting to have a theological debate with you on this show, and nor was I
Well,
intending
next time,
to.
don't interrupt me when I'm talking so you can listen.
I just said all right. I was agreeing with you. That's all I was doing. All right. And on that note, legend, I think that Chicago is still in a area where they're neither going upwards or downwards at this point in time. But is there another team that speaks out to you as far as it's concerned? Is there another area of NBA that you think needs to be addressed as far as some intriguing things that you're looking forward to watching in training camp upcoming?
Well, I wouldn't say intriguing for this team, but I would say I don't know what they're doing up there in Detroit. What are we doing?
Well, they don't even know what they're doing.
Because it's like a train wreck over there. The train that went off the rails and just going through the woods and nonstop. I don't know what they're doing in Detroit. I'm lost what they're doing.
Joe, there's again, it's very interesting what they're doing because the fact is they get enough veterans to make you think, okay, are they going to use them as like Jonas Valanciunas trade fodder? But then you sign Tobias Harris to a 2-year, $50 million deal? I think it was. I think it's a 2. Yeah,
So.
I'll check it in a second. But
yeah, he's getting 52 mil, yeah, something like that.
So even though Boban just signed with a Turkish team, his good buddy, this guy, he manages to find and fall into money. I don't know how he does it, but everywhere he goes, he falls into and then gets crap as soon as he signs right on the dotted line. But with that, again, Detroit, they changed management, they changed coaches, they changed players. But is it really any better?
No, unfortunately, Detroit is just it's kind of an abyss. It's teams like Minnesota, Detroit, Milwaukee, Cleveland. When those teams are not just stacked with either stars or they're competing for championships, it's not good. And Detroit has not been fortunate enough to get that huge impact player in the draft, especially even drafting one. So I don't know where they're going to go here. I really don't. I don't know if Ron Holland's going to be a difference maker. I don't know if Thompson's going to be a difference maker. Is Cade Cunningham going to take that next step? Is he that kind of guy? I really don't know. And the coaching situation with Monty Williams, the way that kind of went, it just goes to show you that you have too many guys there also making bad decisions and allocating money to things that they can't get back now, and that puts you in a bind, especially when you're somebody like Detroit. I'd say you're probably going to get a repeat of what happened last year, unless there's some kind of next level that Cade Cunningham can go. And can Ron Holland be the guy that could he be the rookie of the year in the NBA? I'm not saying he's my favorite, but for some weird reason, he's the first name that pops up on my head when I think about it.
I want to say that, Legend, it's been great having you here, my friend. An hour in, just truly fantastic to have you here. And Joe also as well, providing insight on some really intriguing NBA matchups to look at. But with that said, is there anywhere else you would turn to as far as Toronto? I think is somewhere I'd want to actually look at last, my friend, at least from my perspective, because they've got now – they were in that area where they had a lot of players that didn't quite fit, so it wasn't quite working out. They've made some trades, Legend, before the end of the season. They gave they signed some pretty high-priced contracts. There's now expectations in Toronto. Do you think what they have there in Toronto is expected to meet them?
They expecting to be better than what they were last year. I mean, they ain't expecting no championship, but at least you expect to get the 10th spot and get in the play-in tournament and try to play for a playoff spot. I think that's what they probably at least have their expectations, at least at this point.
Well, if that's the case. Again, Toronto, we'll see what happens. But Joe, any other intriguing teams, or do you want to discuss the Toronto Raptors? Again, they spent a lot of money this offseason with some of their acquisitions, including Emmanuel Quickley, and they signed Scotty Barnes they gave him the bag. They backed up the Brinks truck for him. Is he going to be the guy that's going to lead Toronto back into relevancy? Do you think he has all the tools necessary?
No. Scotty Barnes isn't that guy. I'd say he's a good number 3 on a title team. I don't know about a 1 or a 2 even. Paying quickly, that big contract was actually a surprise. RJ Barrett, he's a hit and miss type. Bruce Brown, who more than likely will be moved before the deadline. I'd say that's almost a guarantee that he'll be moved at some point. You have Pirtle. He's a decent player. I mean, in the East, to some degree, you could probably make a couple runs during the year and get into the playoffs. I just don't feel that Toronto is anything other than maybe a 35 to 40 win team at best.
Well, we'll see what happens. Again, I don't think Toronto. I still have my doubts. I don't know if Scotty Barnes can take this team all the way and as far as into relevancy, at least to get them into the upper tier of the Eastern Conference. I think they could still be a play-in team, but we'll see how it happens on that. Legend, any more teams that pop into mind?
The last one for me, maybe you guys mentioned them on the last one. Definitely Orlando Magic.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of variables there. I know that, of course, Alfred did mention it, but I want to hear your thoughts on Orlando. I mean, this is a team that was in desperate need of offense. They did pick up KCP, but offense was the big thing that let them down over the course of the playoffs. Do you think they have enough now to compete at the upper level of the Eastern Conference?
I really got to see how everybody else is shaping up. See how Philadelphia with Paul George work out, and see what Milwaukee them look like. I gotta see, because to me, even though KCP was to me a really good pickup, KCP wasn't all that great in the playoff. This past playoff, he wasn't that great on the offensive end for Denver. So we kind of want to see how it's gonna play out, because that's all they're missing at this point. They got the defense, you need the offense, which is why they lost to Cleveland.
Joe, any thoughts again on Orlando or even Cleveland? Now, Cleveland, they also gave out some mighty contracts over the course of the past couple months. There's some expectations there as well.
I think Orlando's in much better shape to make a run now, especially if Banchero plays at an MVP contender level, which he's definitely got the potential of doing. I'd say even top 10. Getting Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was a great move in that you're bringing a championship pedigree, a veteran guard, someone who can play defense and make shots when you need to. He's done that in both stints when he's won a championship. And these kind of players with the young talent like this, like young talented team like this, that's when the fit is perfect. And then you have Jonathan Isaac. If he can stay healthy and continue to be the defensive stalwart on that team, they're gonna have the elements that they need to balance everything out. And then you have Franz Wagner, who they've committed a lot of money to. He's got to step up. Mo Wagner, not as good as his brother, but very, very good player, or I should say good player. And it's a young team. And what did we say about young team and good coaching? The NBA usually does well when they have those two ingredients. And I'm going to say at their peak, I could see them being a 4th seed. If they can't handle the pressure of an 82-game season and being a contender, then you could see them dropping to 6, 7.
Okay. Again, I think it's going to be very competitive, right around the seeds 2 through 8 in both the Eastern and Western Conference. I just want to say, yes, it's going to be very interesting to see how this lays out. Legend, I want to thank you so much for stopping by, and Joe also as well. But before we do, Legend, please give everybody the lowdown on exactly what's going on with your YouTube channel to find out what's going on and why they should like and subscribe.
Well, what I got going on is finna drop a couple of videos, and I'm probably gonna start adding some college football into it just because I love college football, as well as probably do a little bit of talk on my university that I attended. Talk about a little bit of Georgia Southern football, who playing Ole Miss this weekend. So I'm definitely do a little conversation on that, and then just do a little live stream, maybe on some games while they're going on as well, and talk on it from there.
Joe, I know one thing that we have to do, we haven't done in a long time, but I did promise Sunday that last week, is we have to do a Lakers 101. So is there a Lakers 101 subject we need to go back to school on in upcoming here, maybe even tomorrow night?
Lakers 101 is according to what?
What would you like to do for a 101 subject?
Haven't thought about it. I'll have to think about it tonight.
All right. The professors will get together and the dean will get together. We'll go ahead and have a Lakers 101 as far as a great history moment, which we'll go ahead and talk about here as per your request to bring back the Lakers 101 show here as we get closer and closer to NBA training camps. I did want to make mention, because Laker Nick, and give a big shout out to Laker Nick. He did inquire if we are doing fantasy basketball on ESPN and creating an ESPN league this year. The answer is yes. We will go ahead and have a draft probably somewhere between a 15 to 20 mark, October 15 to 20, somewhere in there. We'll go ahead and get you the exact date and time. I may even put it on the air. I'd love to put it on the air at drafting while we're having a show. That would be awesome to see what everybody's thoughts are indeed on it while we do it. So we'll see what happens there. But yes, we will have a ESPN league this year for sure. So great having you here, Legend. Joe as well. Tomorrow we'll be back with a Lakers 101, unless there's any Lakers news that hits. Inside Sports Fantasy Football still haven't gotten an official word yet. I did. Okay, Joe. Joe, looks like that Chris can come on the air at 8 p.m. I'm going to go and shoot it for 8 p.m. tonight. Does that work for you, Joe?
That should, yeah.
All right. We'll be talking football. We'll have all the great news and notes, and what you need to do to go ahead and make sure you support us there. Inside Sports Fantasy Football will be on the Lakers Fast Break channel, all the sports channels that we do. But please go ahead and become a member today for just $2.99 a month, and support, like, and subscribe to everything that we do right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.